Hey everybody. Let me see if I can get this done like that. So today we are going to work on finishing the nesting slab bowls that we made last time. So here you can see them all four together. And these, just a review of the process, I used a clay stamp here. Let's bring that in a little bit closer, and you can see that each one of these has a design on them. Think of that. There we go. Oh, there. And then you can see I stamped that design into each one, and then through a process, and then you can look at the live stream from yesterday. You can see how I made the four of these. So here we go. So now today, what are we going to do? We are going to finish them and round off the rims and make them look good. And also these have a tendency to warp a little bit when you are finishing them when they dry, so that we're going to learn how they don't warp like this anymore. So those are the things that we're going to do today. Woo! So here we go. So if you have any questions about what I'm doing here, just feel free to chime in, or questions about anything. Let's push those off to the side. Let's get my banding wheel out, because that's an essential tool here. Oh, there we go. Banding wheels out. And then we're going to work on finishing these guys. So let's start with the driest one. Ooh, that one's pretty dry. We'll start with the little guy. Put these guys back over here and cover them up in plastic again. And I'll come back and get those in a little bit. You can also see from back here, I'll bring out these. I'm working also on some more square ones, and I really love the way these guys are turning out. But this guy isn't quite ready to get trimmed up yet. So we will work on that one in a little bit. So today, let's start with this guy here. So this was a slab. I took a clay stamp, did I put all my clay stamps away? I just want to show you as an example, not those. Anyway, I have some clay stamps from yesterday lying about here somewhere, if I can find them. Where did they go? I mean, I was working on it, nope, not it. I must have put the clay stamps from yesterday away. That's so funny. Anyway, they look a lot like this, except they're round, right? So I have a round set of stamps that look just like this. So yeah, so let me plug myself back in. I unplugged myself here let me plug myself back in so I can, there we go. All right, so let me change one thing here, lower that down just a little bit. There we go. So the first thing I do is take this bad boy, and then I put this on here like that, and then this will help reshape them a little bit, because they were so wet yesterday. When I pull them out of the mold, they have a tendency to warp. So I'll put this on here, and then I'll sometimes it just doesn't quite hug. Ooh, this one did a pretty good job. I'll do like that just to make sure that it's on there really good, right? So I'm gonna push down like that all the way around. Right, so if you have any questions about what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, so now that should sit pretty good, but you see it's still a little wobbly, right? So we will fix that here in a second. So we are going to now trim up the rim. So you see the rim is a little square, so we'll take care of that. For that, I have these little chunks of plastic that I use my laser cutter for, and you can see, not a laser cutter, these ones were printed, and then each one has a different like circumference circle or half semicircle on there, and then I use this and I put this on the rim and use that to round the rim. So we'll zoom in for this one. We'll get you guys close in so you guys can see what I'm doing. So then one of these half sphere guys wraps around there. Let's bring that up just a tad. There we go. And then, so I bring this around and I'll do this. Scrape this edge. Now this piece is drying out, just a little bit too dry. So I'll get my spray bottle out and just spray it down a little. So what that means is I'm going to set that one aside, and I'm going to start another one to give that guy a chance to soak up that water. So we'll go to let's try one of these. So let's try this guy instead. This is not the right size guy. Let's pull that back. a little bit because we are really close in. So we'll get the next form, size form out. And that one fits on there, and then we'll push this guy down a little bit. There we go. Just trying to get this guy on there. So this is a plate version of the same thing. So I make plates and bowls from the same molds, right? So you see how this bowl version of this goes up higher. This is a plate version, which is a little flatter. Also has the same design here, if it will focus in there. Second. So that's a very good question. There's a question in the chat from Frank saying, where did I get those printed things? So I have two things here in my studio. I have a laser cutter, which allows me, let me see if, give me a second. Let me see if I can find the original ones of these. They must be close by because I was just making these yesterday. And then as I was working, I transitioned to making the square ones halfway through the day. But the round ones should be here. They can't be that far away. It's so weird. Oh, here they are. So here, so to answer Frank's question, if you see here, I have a bunch of these discs, right, that I laser cut. And then if you're wondering where I got these from making them myself out of blank pieces of plywood. And then I have a laser cutter. So I take a design and I program it into the laser cutter. I'm able to make these stamps. Now, you could just take a round slab and just roll and stamp around the rim for that. You could do that, or you could do a number of things, but that allows me then to make the exact same size circle. You see that each one of these is an inch smaller, or an inch bigger, inch smaller, inch smaller, inch smaller. And that allows me to make these nesting bowl things, right? And then the other half of that is, and then using my 3D printer, I'm able to print these forms, right? Hump molds, right? And then each one of these is an inch smaller and an inch smaller and an inch smaller. So if you look at this guy, for example, this disc and the base of this are exactly the same size, so that when I push this, make the slab, and I push it down, it makes a what I call a plate, which looks like that. And then if I go the inch bigger, which would be this guy here, so this would be a 7-inch diameter disc on a 6-inch mold. Then when I put that down, it goes down further, and then it makes what I call bowls. So if that answers your question, Frank, that's a very good question. And I made my live stream yesterday. I was actually making these guys here. So if you want to check that live stream out from yesterday, you'll see exactly how I made this guy here. So let me go back to, this first one's now ready. So let's go back to this guy here. Let's put this guy back under wraps, because these slab built things, man, they dry off so fast, right? It's pretty scary. Because I'm used to starting off as a thrower, right? So I still have kind of a thrower's mentality when I work. Oh, wow. Oh, so how did I make my hump molds? I didn't disclose that, did I? These are what we call 3D printed. So what I did is I just designed this in 3D printing, in a modeling software, right? And then I 3D printed them. So if you look closely, let's see if we can zoom in on it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's not going to focus. So you can see that it's actually 3D printed. So you see there's lots of little lines there, right? And so these are actually little 3D forms that I've printed out. So this form and this form are exactly the same, right? Except that they're just 1 inch smaller in diameter, right? So I shrink it by 1 inch, whoop, right? And then the software automatically shrinks it down. So it's a little bit like, you know, when you stick something in a photocopier and you say reduce by 10%, right? It reduces that the same thing, right? It just shrink raise this down to here, right? And then I will go and then I printed out another one at 7 inches, and then you can see that each is proportionately, yes, there's a lot of plastic here, correct. You are 100% right. There's a lot of plastic, but I expect to use these and make lots of different molds out of these, right? So the plastic part, right, it's called PLA. And then this one I had to make in 2 halves, right? Because my printer wasn't big enough. My printer, I have a small 3D printer, does not allow me to print out a whole thing all at once. So I have to cut it in half and print each side separately for that one. And then there are some where I actually have to cut it into fourths and print it out that way. So yeah, we'll back to this guy here. So this guy absorbed enough water, so it's ready to go, right? So I'm ready to plop her on there and then just go back. I always start over again to make sure that I push it down all the way around, right? So these started off as little slabby, just little hunks of slabs. I've been making these slab dishes all summer long on a different version. I was making ovals all summer. And then so yesterday is the first time I started using these molds here, right? And then you see that it has the design all the way around the edge. It's really fun. And now this one's ready. So now I will get out this guy here. We'll zoom in for this part so you guys can see it really good. Zoom in good. That's the max that camera will zoom in. All right, so then I'm going to take one of these edges and then scrape it along. So we'll do it in a way where you guys can see it, I hope. There we go. Let's do it over here. So you can see I'm scraping the rim with that guy right there. Let's bring this around this way so maybe you guys could get a better view of this. And then hopefully it focuses. There we go. Whoa. There we go. Then you see that how I'm using this little part right there, riding this little bit along the rim right there. So the problem with this camera, man, I'm gonna back her off and then maybe it will focus better and then bring it closer because man, it was having a rough time there. So there, and we scrape that along the edge there, like that. You can see the little bits of clay flaking off. This one feels a little bit dull, like it's not doing a little, what does that mean, a little bit dull? Well, I have found that when I use these a lot, there's a lot of clay like rubbing in through those grooves. It actually wears away some of that plastic, right? You know, and I used to be a person where I wouldn't, want to make my own tools, but now, man, I'm making a lot of tools for myself. You know, you could buy something like this, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted. And so here I was able to make one that has like 4 different diameter semicircles, right? So if I'm making smaller pieces where the slab starts off thinner, I'll go with that one. And then if I'm making larger like bowls or thicker slabs, I'll be able to use that guy right there. So these are also 3D printed. I do have some that were made out of wood too, right? Out of plywood that I was laser cutting, but the plywood, the wood just didn't last very long. These plastic ones last a really long time. So yeah. So what would happen there is I would wear out this little crux. It would just start getting rounded off. It was like beveling the inside of that. So I think that's pretty good. Looking pretty good. Feeling pretty good about it. Okay. All right. So see how now, if we look really closely, that rim is nice and rounded there. Right. You see that all the way around. I take that and I'm going to, now let's back this guy off a little so you guys have a more, whoa, don't want to go that way. Let's back that off now so you guys can see. So I have a brush nearby. I'll brush this scrap away. That will later get brushed in. And then I have to use a brush on the inside to kind of brush this off. Ooh, some kind of stuck in there. Because what I'm going to do is I have to knock out all of these little bits because later I'm going to wipe down the inside. And if I don't get these little bits mostly out, which, right, if I don't get most of these bits out, it will get stuck in there. And then just check the bottom. All right. So now I am going to quickly get a sponge. Where's my water? Oh, here it is. So I'll get my bucket of water and sponge out. Let's put that over here. And then I'm going to start wiping down the inside a little bit. If you'll notice that from the thing, there's a little bit of wood texture in this blank area that gets transferred onto here, from the way I stamp it. So let's see if you can see it. You can see there's some wood texture, right? See, you can see there's some texturing in there, and I don't really like that texturing. That comes from the original stamp, right? So here I'm going to try to erase some of that, because sometimes that wood texturing does come through in the stamp. I mean, in the final glaze product, right? When I do this. So, yeah. So it kind of came about, like I started working with a laser cutter and like holy, like 8-9 years ago, just trying to figure out how it works, because at my my school where I was at the time had a laser cutter. They spent thousands upon thousands of dollars, and it was over in the sculpture building, and no one was using it. So I was like, I gotta figure out how that works, right? So that's basically done. Oh, I forgot. So I forgot. Last step is that even though this looks pretty good, sometimes they get a little bit wobbly. What do I mean by that? Because the clay sometimes doesn't stay flat when it dries. It kind of puckers up in one way or the other, and they'll end up kind of wobbly like this. And because this form is really rounded on the bottom and then flat, if this bottom warps at all, it could warp one way or the other, and then this won't sit very flat. So the way how I fix that is, I gotta find it. Man, always when you make the first pot of the day, it's always hard to find everything. Is I have this kind of very shallow hump mold here, and what I do is I place that in the middle like that, and then what I'm going to do is just either push this down a little bit like on there, and so this humpiness will push up more here in this area, right? And then so that it's this bottom here is slightly then doming upwards, right? It's doming upwards in the middle, and that just keeps it from having issues later, right? From having, yeah. So then it'll just sit flat, a little flatter, and it'll sit more around this outside edge. So how do I know? If I take this and rub this around on here a little bit, like that, a little bit of blue then will transfer onto here, and you can see that blue then transfers all the way around just about. So now when this sits down here, this will be super level. So number one, done. So let's set that guy aside. We'll get out number two. Let's see here. Let's start with the biggest one. Let's see how that one's feeling. Oh, just right. So here. So now we'll get out this guy here. We'll do the same thing. I think this one uses this guy here. So we pop that in there. And so when I made these yesterday, a lot of times they don't fit exactly all the way around anymore. So I got to flip that guy over. Let's get a slightly different view here so you guys can see it. And I just spent some time like packing this down, right? So just to make sure so I want to catch these at the right moment, right? So at the right moment, meaning like they aren't too dry, right? I want them to still be a little bit flexible so I can kind of remesh them down here against the form, right? The poor Shimpo. Okay, so this guy, this has seen a lot of mileage, my banding Shimpo wheel, and I think that, sure, these Shimpos are great, because I think anything else I did all this abuse to wouldn't have survived. Like, this is still very usable. It is, my little banding wheel, still really usable. I have mistreated and abused this thing like crazy. Right? Things for me in my studio equipment is I need things super durable, because I do not take care of things. Meaning, I think I was building a sculpture once, and it was something that I needed a sand with lots of water, but I also wanted this. So I put this whole thing in the bucket of water in the bottom, and the bucket was like halfway full of water, and I had this other sculpture in there, and I was sanding this in the water, and I forgot this thing underwater for like weeks. And because I just forgot it was in the bottom of the bucket, and it's still... So I think that's where all that rustiness came from, is because I left it. And the wheel is actually still really good. Shockingly, it's still functional. Where I think any other wheel that wasn't this quality, right, would have been long gone by now. So I say these Shimpo banding wheels are extraordinarily awesome, right? So now that has the form, it looks a little better. So plop it on there, and then we'll do the whole rounding of the rim thing again. Let's see here. So this rim looks a little bit chunkier. So I think I'm going to go with a little bit the bigger side of this guy. Going to up one notch to a notch that's a little bit tougher. So let's get onto the far side so you guys can really see where I'm working this. There we go. So there, so we're working the rim. So this one is a little bit dry for this, meaning it just isn't falling, the clay isn't really falling away like I would like it to. There's a little bit of a notch there, like, and this guy has a rough time with those sorts of notches and things. So I have a Sureform that I usually leave right there, but it's not. Where is it? I see one Sureform. Ah, here it is. So I'm going to use this Sureform here to shave this little notchy place down. How you can see there's a little bit of a notch there. See a little bit of a hiccup up. So if you're looking at this Sureform, this is just a regular Sureform that I tied a string to on both sides. Right, you can see that, and then what happens is now I can use this like a little hand Sureform, kind of like a big version of one of these, right? You see that? This is just like a big version of this, and all I did was take a string and tie the loop around that loops around those little attachment points. See, it just goes into that little saddle there, and then I twirled a stick around to put tension on that string there. Who originally showed this to me? This was it John Neely that showed this to me? I think it was John Neely who showed this to me, right? So now I can use this like a little hand Sureform thing like this. It's very light, right? And it has a much, like this is great too. This version is really great. But this, because of the lightness and the way it fits in your hand, the way I can control it, I can swoop it around, right? The way how I can use it, I can swoop it around. And so I can use a curved part right here, right? So I can curve it, or I can use the flat part right there, right? If I want to use more of a flat part right there, right? So here we go. I'm going to try to use the flat part because I'm trying to whack away at the rim there, right? So here we go. Let's see here. We're going to, there we go. So here we're going to scrape that down, right? And I'm going to go around the edge there because that was a hiccup from when I was cutting this out. And while I got this out, I'm just going to look all the way around. The rest of it looks okay. So we'll put that guy down and we'll go back to the rim smoother guy. I think I must have been using this guy. Nope, must have been using this guy. Yeah, must have been using this one. I got to find where I stop. So back to rim smoothing. Back that away so you guys could see it a little better now. All right. There we go. So remember, these are nesting bowls, right? So if you have any other questions or comments, feel free to throw those up in the chat. I wish there were, I wish there was a way we could talk back and forth, like more in a dialogue way, right? Where you could just like say, hey, vocally, right? In a verbal sense, not just through the chat. My name is John, because you guys don't know me. My name is John. Hi, I live here in Portland, Oregon area. So welcome from Portland, Oregon. The weather is overcast, but I don't think I can look out my window. I don't think it's raining or anything today, but it's overcast outside. And it's a nice, happy day. So a great day to be doing pottery. If you want to, you could put in the chat like where you're from. That would be awesome. Just to say howdy doody. All right, so I went all the way around the rim, right? So then we'll go back this away again for a second, and then we'll scrape this off. We'll get this down. Ooh, this one had a lot of stuff, right? And then let's scrape I didn't quite get everything out from the inside. Brush, 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 brush. And if you want to see how I made these, you can go check out the video from yesterday and you'll see how I made these. Let's put that back on. I see a little bit of a blemish right there. Just to show you an example, a finished example of a stamped cup. You can see that guy there, right? That is a finished example of a cup that I stamped, right? So this uses the symbol. Ooh, there's coffee in there still. Woo, glad I didn't flip it over. There's nothing in this one. This is another stamped cup, right? And then this has a stamped textured bottom as well, right? So, but today we're working on these guys. I have lots of videos. If you want to see me making these, I have some videos about how I make those. Check out my YouTube channel and you can see John Hasegawa making those cups too, right? And then I have a bunch of other stuff on there. All right, so smoothing this guy out. There's just some blemishes, I think, where I hit it with my nails and stuff, and this gives me maybe one more opportunity to do this, right? Make sure it's conforming to the shape that I want it to have. There we go. Whoop, whoop. Flip that out. This guy goes over there, and then we are going to sponge off the inside now, right? Oh, all right. So someone's from North Dover, Arkansas. That's great. Wow. It's always shocking, like, to learn where people are from. Sometimes I've had people like from New Zealand, right? And from other places, like just logging in. This is a very, very impressive thing, right? Like that as a collective, as ceramicists, we can all like have a place where we can gather together. Oh, and there's another one from North Georgia mountains. Whoa. So I was a little bit out there. I used to live in this place called Paducah, Kentucky, which is the west side of Kentucky, but it's closer to Georgia from Portland, Oregon. I'm just checking one more time to make sure. Let's just do this one more time just to make sure it's down. Okay, it's down. I think I'm done with that form. Oh, then we got to do this to make sure it sits flat. Let's just see how it looks without it sitting flat. So let's put it on there. This one is actually pretty stable. Let's do a Shimpo transfer blue bottom trick. Let's do that for a second. So I'm rubbing it on the bottom just to see where it transfers. So it does look okay, right? But you see how like here it's kind of touching in the middle, but it isn't touching in that spot right there. So yeah, eventually all this Shimpo paint's gonna wear off. But just to tell you, I don't do it. I only did that for you guys. Oh, Santa Fe. Whoa. Hello from Santa Fe. Hello to Santa Fe. That is awesome. Very good pottery traditions out there. Out of Santa Fe. Here we go. So now let's set this guy down. Oh, much better, right? It just feels better, right? The one thing I'm always a little bit worried about, right, is like if that flat surface, if it isn't on the outside more, right, one of the things I'm worried about is if it doesn't rest on this outside part, if it rests too close to the middle, when you are eating, let's say I have a fork and you're digging down or pressing down and you're pressing down on the opposite side, on the outside, that the plate could have a tendency to tip up, right? And so I think making that small change does put a slight hump into the middle here, right? But it also, though, I don't like the idea. Let's do the rub trick again. Even though I think I'm eventually going to ruin my Shimpo. Oh, you see how much farther out it is now? Oh, that makes me feel so much better, right? Having it on contact. You see, actually, it isn't contacting down here. So maybe I could press down a little bit out there. I don't know. Let's see if that did it better. Oh, looking better. All right, so we're happy with that. Let's set this guy aside and let's do another one. Woohoo! So something happened here. Oh, I disconnected myself from my audio. Sorry, give me a second to get patched in here. I just disconnected my headphones. There we go. All right, so back in business. So we got 2 more to do. Let's do this guy. I think this guy, nope. This guy takes this guy. So this is a 7-incher. Plop her on. There we go. All right. Let's see if I missed any of the chats. Oh yeah, yes, I could do it on Zoom. So I have thought about doing it on Zoom. Like, maybe that's what we could do. We could try to put a Zoom link in the chat, maybe, right at the, yeah. And then people could log in on Zoom if they wanted to. Do people think that would be a good idea? Right? Because then people could go on Zoom and then we'd be talking. Now, I don't know how Zooms, this could work over Zoom. It actually could work over Zoom. That's what I'll do. Maybe later today, I'll try to Zoom something live if I can get it set up. So, okay. So the issue with trying it over Zoom, I think, okay, I'm trying to, so that was Sherry said that if I could try this over Zoom, then it would work. And it probably would. The issue with trying something over Zoom is there's Zoom audio, but then YouTube maybe won't catch the Zoom audio, I guess. I don't know. I have to think about this. Thank you for that idea. Because interacting with people is really, oh, so you see there's another part where when I cut this, there's a little bit of, come on, focus, there we go. So there's a little bit of a hiccup there, right where there, so I need to shave that down with the Sureform thing. Yeah, sorry, I didn't see your chat earlier. So now I've shaved that down a few times. It's looking better. Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting? I could try a Zoom thing. Ooh, then people could interact. Ooh. Now I've thought about it, but now that you've said it, I could do this over Zoom. Because that's how all this, me doing these videos started, was I was trying to Zoom with my students. And then I didn't really like what some of the features Zoom had. And YouTube has some really good features for videos, which Zoom didn't have at the time, at least. That was a couple of years ago during the pandemic. Yeah, maybe we will try to Zoom these. I could put it as the top pinned comment at the top where people, if people want to join via Zoom, they could. That could be a good experiment. All right, so here we go. We almost got it. There we go. So that's looking pretty good. Yeah, that's such a good idea. I've never tried it. So there's a couple issues with doing that already. Doing a video, live streaming a video already eats up a lot of bandwidth. So it'd be doubling that, and also eats up a lot of computer power. Zooming does a little bit. So I have to think about doing that. That's a very good idea. All right. So let's keep going about ceramics. So I did that. I think this is looking okay. Checking it over. That looks okay. And then let's sponge her off a little bit. Wow. We'll finish these bowls. Yeah. So those are looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with those. This one. There we go. Oh, Sharon. Oh, Sharon, you're back again. That was good. Sharon watched this yesterday. Yeah, so Sharon, I don't really plan this out, like when I'm going to do that, but YouTube will replay it again later, right? You just look in the live video. So here I am getting that one done. So these are the ones that I did yesterday. So Sharon was with us yesterday, I think, right? I assume you're the same Sharon as yesterday. So there and there. Oh, I forgot to dome these. I forgot to dome this one. Getting so excited about this. I'm just thinking now about this YouTube, about zooming these at the same time. I think that would be so cool to be able to zoom this at the same time. All right, so that's looking okay. So I'm just feeling the bottom. What I'm doing is just by feel, I can feel it, how much it's domed upwards. Let's see if there's a way you could see it. Let me get a straight edge here and let's just see how much it's domed upwards. So let's see, can you guys even see that? So you guys can you guys see that a little bit? You can see a little bit of space there, right? Where it's domed upwards. There we go. So, and then I think it's okay. It's looking good. And then I always need to check it because the doming upwards, because these do, like when they dry, they torque a little bit, like one way or the other, like something, right? So if it's domed upwards a little bit, if it's domed up a little bit, it gives me more chance that it'll sit flat even when it's done. Do I have another one still to do? Do I have another one? Nope, I have one more to do. So this is the last one. So I'm going to start stacking these up over here so we can see them. Look at that. So far 2, and then this is one that's a little bit too small because this one goes in between those 2. So we'll hurry up and get this one done. Ooh, this one feels a little bit stiff, so I'm going to spray this one down. What do I mean by a little bit stiff? The one thing I got to watch out for is I still got to flip this over first, right, and press it down on the form. But this feels just a little bit stiff that it could crack the rim if I try to force it. So I'll spend some time. I'll spray this one down a little bit, and I'll spray down the other side. The good thing about slabs is, 1, they dry fast. 2, it's easy to re-wet them a little bit by spraying them down. So I just let that guy sit for like 5 minutes just off over here off camera. And then let me get this guy. Haha. So I made one plate yesterday during the demo. Oh, so this is the example of what I mean, that you see how it's kind of like, right? So that means that it's probably touching here. Ooh, let's do the rub test, right? So that means that this guy for sure, these plates especially, see how they're just kind of, they rock back and forth. Ooh, I sprayed my camera. Huh. Let me wipe it down. Give me a second. Excuse me while I clean off the lens a little bit. There we go. There we go. Oh, so much better. All right, so you see how it's kind of wobbly, right? It's kind of wobbly, and that means it's kind of rounded probably down here at the bottom. So let's see. Let's do the rub John Hasegawa against my Shimpo wheel test, right? And let's look. You see how it's turning blue in the middle, right? So that middle is it's bowed out upward. So that's something we do have to fix, but we'll fix that later. Golly, this one feels a little dry too. So we got to spray this one down a little bit too. So it's just, this one probably would have been fine. I just want to give it a little bit of spray action. We'll set that one aside too. Let's go back to this guy. Oh, so luckily this is like El Perfecto, but it's still a little wet. Do I have something else to do? So I got 2 that are just a little bit just sprayed. Oh, let's do one of these. So this is the other ones I'm working on, right? I showed these a little bit. These are the square ones. Now I love these guys. So let's just get one of these ready. And these square guys come from these square stamps here, right? So I made another series of square stamps here, right? You see that? Woohoo, right? Square, square, square. And each one of these are the same kind of deal as the other ones, right? One's bigger and bigger and bigger. And then I have a series of square molds that I use as well, right? And you can see that here, right? These are little square guys. And once again, haha, 3D printed, right? And they're all different sizes. So this is one that I'm really having a good time making these guys. I'll show you another one here. Oh, here we go. Right. And this is one that I had to, because my 3D printer is too small, right? This is 8 inches across, right? My 3D printer can only print 7 inches. So I had to print these in 2 separate halves and then glue them together. I think this one takes this. So this one takes this guy for this size right here. You can see how this square guy just plops right in there. You see that? Just like that, right? And then here we go. Bill, thank you for subscribing. Yay. Right, and just to tell you a little bit, I guess, about my channel, thank you, is that I mainly do, I stream a little bit, right? Not that often, but I love streaming, especially when I'm not teaching, right? So right now, we don't start teaching again till, until tomorrow actually is my first day back at school from Christmas break, right? And then this allows me, doing a little bit of streaming allows me to kind of keep my head in the game, right? So whoosh, that now should look better. You know, I'm going to leave this guy upside down because I bet you this guy is ready. I'm going to go back to the round guys because they're a little bit drier. Keep that guy over there. So let's do this guy. So here we go. Let's round the rim. So I'm jumping back and forth. All right, so I'm trying to keep my eyeball in the chat here. All right, so here I'm rounding the rim again. Ooh, let's zoom in for that so you guys can get a good view of that so it doesn't seem like you're a million miles away, right? So you guys can see, so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Steady the camera, and then there we go. Oh, there's another hiccup there. Man, there's a lot of these like little bumps. Go take care of that using my Sureform. Then I got to get back to this guy again. Oh, I think I need some Sureform action on this side too. There, just a little bit. All right, so here we go. Oh, round the rim. So these are my rib rounders. Now, you could buy things that do exactly the same thing. There's some metal ribs that they sell at the ceramic supply store, right? But I figured since I have all this equipment, I just 3D printed my own, right? And these 3D printed ones seem to be working okay. I wish maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what would make these work better, right? How could I make these better, right? For myself, right? What would be the next thing for these, right? There we go. I love making these plates. I've been having so much fun. I made a bunch of different versions of these over the summer. They were all oval, and mainly because, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling the square or round design over the summer, right? So I made a bunch of those. Let's see here. Let's use this and sweep off all this stuff. All right, so let's go back to, I think this needs a little bit more time on top. It just doesn't seem quite right, this. So I'm sweeping out the inside here. This doesn't seem quite like round enough or something. There seems to be a little bit of ovalness down here. Let's see if we can re-oval this guy back up. See if we can get it to look just the way we want it to look. There we go. You know, while we're here, let's just do the, no, let's do the doming part right there. There we go. I don't know. Is that working? Kind of. Yeah. This is, out of all the steps that I'm doing, this part is the part that I'm least confident about each time that if I'm doing a good job. I've been trying to think, well, should I just print a separate dome piece? I was also thinking about, should I just print these? Because I could. This is just flat across here. Should I print these so that they have a slight hollow going down? Right? I could, and then I could just push the clay down into that hollow. But I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't figured out exactly what I want to do about that. That seems okay. All right, so now let's wipe it down. So here we go. We'll clean up the inside a little bit like we did before, meaning getting rid of that wood texture that's on the inside, and then I'll sweep around the outside. And the other parts look okay, so I think I'm okay there. Let's see here. Let's center it up. Let's see how round it actually is. It's pretty round. For a hand-built thing, that's actually really round. You can kind of tell that my throwing influence, like I'm still like a wheel thrower at heart, I think. So I appreciate the symmetry and the perfection of the wheel. Like that gives us, but I kind of feel like then I translate that kind of aesthetic and values kind of back into these items, right, that I'm slab building, right? So here we go. So bloop, bloop, right? So you see that. Let's see how good they look all together. Woohoo, right? So there, and then there. So those are the 4, right? Woo, so not too bad for a hand-built item, right? And then you see that each one of these is only an inch apart. So there isn't that much spatial difference, right? That's actually a really tight tolerance, right? And they seem to go pretty well together. So that's pretty exciting. Ooh, so those are the 4. Now you'll notice that compared to yesterday's stream, like this is much faster, right? And I think there's one more I got to clean up. So I think this one was, I had a little bit of extra clay. So back to this guy. Let's get this guy finished up. This guy seems pretty good. This is just like an extra bowl, right? Bonus bowl, bonus bowl, whoop, 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 whoop. Bonus bowl. Bonus bowl, whoop, 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 whoop. So if you're wondering, like in my mind, that's kind of like how my mind works. It's like sound effects, right? And like yee and things like that are always happening in my little brain. Oh, I missed that. There we go. Right? So there's always these weird things going on in my head. Right? So here we go. Just scraping away. Like that. So making pottery, making pottery. There we go. Scraping away. Scraping away. There. Look at that. So slowly, excuse me, slowly getting there. There we go. Yeah, look at that. There we go. So, woo, so looking pretty good. There we go. I think we got it. Clean up the inside. Clean up this. And like I said, kind of yesterday during the stream, man, there is hardly, with hand building, man, I just love that there's almost no waste, right? All the clay I cut off from the outside of the slab, right? Went back into my recycling box. All the clay here, like I made like 4 or 5, trimmed up 4 or 5 bowls. There's hardly any waste at all. So I love that idea as well. All right, so back to this. What do we need to do next? Oh, we need to do the inside. Yes. Do the outside. Like that. Making it look good. There we go. All right, let's check out the inside. Okay, looking okay. Looking okay. Did I do no, I didn't. So once again, you can see that it's making more contact here in the bottom, right? And bottom middle, not on the outside. So I have to do the thumpy on the bottom to kind of make it dome. I don't want it kind of wobbly. We can get down lower so you can kind of see that it's getting bumped up on this hump thing. And this is just, where did I get this? Haha, I just threw a bowl, right? I just threw a bowl, a very shallow one on the pottery wheel, and then I just trimmed it round, right? Like you see that without trimming a foot. And then I have multiples of these guys lying around. Ooh, there's one of those. Let's see if I can find the other one. And I have other ones that, depending on how much dominess I want, I have other ones like this guy here, right? This one is a much higher dome, right? Is a little bit higher than this one. This one's a little flatter, this one's a little top. And then this way, if you make a big object that needs a bigger dome, you have something. I used to have a little guy that was only like that big around, right? And that would have been perfect for these, but I lost it. Oh, I think I gave it to a friend who saw me doing these dome things, and using it as a tool and said he wanted it. So I gave it to him. So there, look at that. So it's not touching over here. You see that? So I'll push that area down a little, see if we can get that to work. Yeah, there. So now let's see, it's touching almost all the way around. Woohoo! So that one's done. That one, let me see. That one's the same as this one? Nope. So this one's a repeat. So we put that away. There, and then one more. We got a plate. Oh, so this is a plate size, right? So this size and this size. No, this plate is formed on this guy right here, right? You see that? So that plate is formed. So this is a shallower version of this guy here. So this guy here, right, drops on there, and you see how it's just a bigger slab, a bigger circle, right? So that makes what I call a shallow bowl, right? And then this plate here is 1 inch smaller diameter circle out of clay. And then you see when I pop it on there, bloop, it doesn't go down as far, where the other one goes down to here, right? So this is definitely more like a plate. So I'm able to make a plate and a shallow bowl out of one form. I was pretty excited when I discovered that possibility. All right, so let's take this guy here and round her off. Right here. Oh, this one has a thing, so I gotta scrape away at that one. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll round these off. I gotta say, man, YouTube is a lot of fun. Like, considering all the other things about social media and things like that, the kind of the bad news that everybody has, like, I think YouTube could be used for things like YouTube, Facebook, or whatever can be used for good, right? We can do things like this where we just kind of hang out together. I make pottery. I try to explain kind of what I'm doing. Even if you're not interested in what I'm doing, you might like it a little bit, right? I think that all the other things that are going bad in the world, right? We should be using these tools like YouTube and social media for good if we can, right? And I think this is, this isn't a bad thing, right? This is something that I hope you guys are interested in. You guys are clay folk, right? And maybe you're interested in making clay things in the future, or you do, or you want to learn a little bit about slab building. And so I thought, well, we can make it a place where this is positive, right? Where this is not a thing about politics. This isn't a thing about all the bad things are happening in the world. This is a place for us to learn, right? And for me, I'll just go on a little bit longer. For me, right, it's about learning how to become a better person yourself through the things that you like doing. So for me, pottery, right? And so when I'm done with this today, I will be in a better place than I was a couple hours ago or when I started making, right? And so here, this one most definitely needs to be go upwards, right, a little bit, because it's most definitely, these plates especially really are kind of wobbly, like will rock back and forth a little bit. So really need to make sure these get thumped up a little bit, just like I did the other one. So now it's a little bit inverse. Let's do the Shimpo test here. Little better. So you can see it's not quite there yet. I'd love it if it was walked out just a little bit more out along the edge. So yes, most definitely better to watch the pottery videos than watching the news. So this is like many of you, we stopped watching regular TV here. And then there was once like an ice storm that was going to happen or something here locally. And then so we decided to watch the news, and then my wife and we watched the whole news broadcast. And at the end, we kind of looked at each other and said, do you feel better or worse now that we watched all of the news? And we both decided we felt worse. And there wasn't anything really necessarily bad happening at the time. There was just so much negative things. So I still listen to the news on the radio or other places, read some, but I definitely don't watch the TV news that much. So there. Dun, dun, dun. So that's a plate. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. So cool. And just to go back to showing you the 4 plates, right, that I made. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that's the same size. What happened to the other one? Oh, dun, 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 dun. Right? So those are the 4 plates that I made today. They look awesome. And I could make a smaller one or a smaller one. The good thing about using these forms, right, is I can always make another slab plate that fits this, that's exactly like this one, because I have the form, I have the clay stamp, right? I have all these things, and as long as I conform to the size and this guy, they will mostly turn out the same, right? And I have the right. It's been making these for a little while now, right? And the square ones are my newest ones. Oh, this one does need a little bit of work, so let me put those away over there. This one, I can just see that there's a little bit of a hitch there. You can just see it visually. See how there's a little bit of a bloop downward. So let's find, what did I do with them all? I just had my forms. Ah, here they are. Hidden, right? So I can just do it like this and see how you could see there's a little bit of a hitch outward there. So I'll just see if I can just kind of push that in. See a little bit of one there, a little bit of one there. For me, like, I think once again, it just comes, it's just from my throwing pottery and my nature, right? I just have to take care of that, right? I just can't help myself. Now, that's what makes my pottery my own, right? Like, because other people would look at that and say, hey, that looked okay, John. You were fine with that. But here, I want to take care of it, right? And so that's what makes the pottery mine, right? And not, and where someone else, maybe you wouldn't have cared that it had that little hitch in this curve, but I really like how round these are. See, I took care of that. So I don't see, it's not perfect, right? It's a hand-built thing, so it isn't going to be that perfect, but it's pretty good, right? So I did all of my, did I do all the ones I did on the stream yesterday? I think I got them all done. Do I have a random one? Oh, and then one plate. So I'll probably make more plates today because they're lots of fun, right? I'll probably do those later. This one I should have scrub this one down just a little bit more. There we go. There. All right. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining the stream today. That was fun. Yeah, it was lots of fun kind of hanging out with you guys and making pottery, right? Thanks a lot. There we go. Now, I think I got to wait usually a little bit till the stream ends, right, to end the stream. So we're just going to hang out here for a second. All right. Thanks, everyone.